AI startups is like startups that are using AI to predict some solutions. Then the other kind of AI using is that the startups try to use AI, then also to develop or to promote a solution based on kind of fields. So basically, this is the kind of difference between AI startups and AI startups that's using AI.
So I think when you talk about AI startups and startups that are using I think the difference is startups that are using AI, they have just incorporated AI as part of the feature of their product. But for AI startups, the AI or machine learning is at the core of that product. So I think that is how I'll differentiate it.
Yeah, so it's a good question. A good addition to that is that, as an example, take OpenAI. OpenAI is an AI startup because all their products are AI, but Duolingo is a startup that uses AI. So their core product is not AI itself, but their core product can be enhanced and uses AI, to advocate for more people or to get more clients.
Okay, I would say the AI startups are the ones which are deploying new AI technology, whereas the ones which are using AI are just using the already existing AI.
Okay, I think for any AI startup that's looking to create business value, as any other business, you have to focus on the problem. And if it is quite relevant and quite feasible to use AI to solve that. So one of the key challenges is most people think of AI as a hype, and they think it's cool to solve a problem with AI. But you might find that that problem doesn't require AI or machine learning to be solved. So the first thing is understanding the problem, and then what's the best value proposition that can come with that using AI. And that will give you traction when you go to the customers, because they will feel like using AI and investing those resources is going to turn out to be a proper return on the investment that they're putting into your bot.
So I think the most important metrics, at least for me as a founder, I'm not an investor, so I can't speak to them, is probably how impactful your startup is and how survivable it is. Because if your product, can be copied or, can be done by anyone else, because you're just using a ready provider like OpenAI or Anthropic, that makes you very much less competitive, and investors wouldn't want, to invest in something that wouldn't be relevant in a year or so. So yeah, these are the most two metrics, which is competitivity, what makes you special, and also what's the value that you add to the clients that you're trying to target.
Okay, the way we identify our AI startup niche is essentially we look at our business value, which is to serve in underserved communities, and we call these slums. These are densely populated areas. In Zambia, we call them slums, and in Zimbabwe, we call them ghettos. So essentially, we identify the mothers, the pregnant, expecting mothers in those highly congested areas, and that's how we address our issues.
How can I can start up AI identify go ahead the market, right? That is the question. Yeah, I think actually in Africa we have a lot of gap, like something about infrastructures, something about also maybe I can say connectivity, then also some access to reliable data. So there is so many gaps that we are facing, but how to so many issues. But how to gap this this kind of issue? Actually, we can see by using some example from DeepSeek. So DeepSeek show us that it's possible to develop a model, an AI model that not mainly require infrastructure or massive electricity. So I think by using this kind of way, it's possible to fill this gap in some AI, also AI startups. Then also, yeah, actually, we have access to connectivity like by using, in some countries, Starlink. So also, if we use this kind of features, we can be how we can have access to the connectivity to internet so that we can feel this kind of this.
Thank you. Any other
Yeah, I think
contribution? Yeah.
yes. I think when you look at gaps, when you're developing a product, you will find yourself there are things that are lacking. And as any person who's building a product in Africa, you start with looking for that data to create your problem, right? You have data, but that data is actually lacking in Africa. But when you go forth after having the data, you're going to look at the computing power, right? How cheap is it in Africa? And then you realize we still have electric problems like energy. So that means computing power is quite expensive. And there are some solutions whereby you are required to host within the country. You can't host those solutions outside your country because of security reasons. So therefore, you are required to use a lot of money to invest in computing power. So when you look at gaps, I think there is huge opportunity in data curation for different problems, but also investing in computing power, which makes sense to invest in energy, electricity, and then talent, which that is why we have Indaba to bring everyone together and invest in talent and networks. So yeah.
Thank you. Any? Yeah.
Okay, for me, I would say gaps are easier to identify when you look at the problems which hit a little too close to home. Like, for example, in our case, we see that one of the co-founders, Tafazo Munzwa, thought of the idea when his cousin fell pregnant, and that's when he identified the gaps in the maternal health care. And when you see some of our friends having their babies die, their infants die, you start thinking of the ways you can help mitigate that, since the deaths are normally caused by identified risks which can be avoided.
Yeah. Thank you.
From my part, I think one of the most important things before even finding the gap is finding a gap that you can fill. And I feel like a crucial part of that comes down to doing customer interviews, because after all, as a startup, you're solving someone else's pain, and you have to make sure that that person is ready to pay you money, or to use your service, to make that pain go away. Because if you don't have customers, and if you don't have especially product market fit, you're just, even if you can make a very good product that solves the problem that you targeted, much of the time, many people, won't use it because it doesn't, work well with their flow, or they're not used to a mobile app or like a device, even if you make IoT devices. So this goes back always to talking to customers and actually finding a pain that people are willing to either pay for, if you have a paid service, or include within their workflows if it's like a free service or a social media platform.
I just want Professor Benjamin Rosman, from your senior experience as a senior colleague, you are the main brain and University of Vet, and you are one time a Google Scholar. So I want you to just throw more light on how AI startups should go about identifying their niche area, and also to advise young AI startups on how to identify market gap from your experience. Thank you.
Thanks for putting me on the spot. Yeah, I mean, I think it's difficult to find a good niche and figure out exactly how you should evolve as a startup. I think it's important to try and do things in a data-driven way, though. To develop prototypes, to take them to market, to try ideas, see what fits, see what doesn't fit, go back to the drawing board. I think problems many people make is to take too long thinking about something and discussing it and without actually iterating it and again collecting the data. So, I think that is a general useful principle.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Can we have any other contribution before I go ahead with my questions? Any other contribution on how to identify the niche area and the market gap? Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Good day, everyone. I would say it depends on the keyword. There is problem. So if we can be able to identify the problem that we want to solve, let's say the AI setup we're looking at is involved in health, right? So if it's something related to health, then we have to see a key problem in health that we want to solve, if it's in finance. So if the AI startup is in a community facing a challenge, for instance, that has to do with, say, like the one that Blossom Care Shed, theirs was specific on ladies going through specific things. So if you can find a key problem that you want to solve in your community, then you can explore the different aspects of AI, maybe NLP or CV or machine learning that you can use in addressing that specific challenge. So from my viewpoint, I would say identify the problem you want to solve, and explore the role that AI can play in solving that problem or your startup. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Eugene. I'm an attorney and fundraising advisor, so I see a few of these cases quite often. From my experience, I believe that a good way to approach the niche issue goes two ways. The first, it's the networks or qualities that the founders have from previous experiences in sectors you worked on before, or your co-founders or advisors are involved, so you can have facilitated connections to who can be your clients tomorrow. And the second part, it's really this, the clients. You can start with a big market that have been named, fintech, health, etc., and identify through a set of potential client prospects that you've been talking with specificities. And I like this approach for niche because it's very concrete for founders. It's not a theoretical niche that you come and imagine. It's a specific niche with clients that you can be building for, that can provide you with money tomorrow to make your business run.
Thank you very much. So now any other question or contribution on the niche area and the market gap? Okay, nobody. So I'll be asking the panelists the next question. Why do some AI startups fail? I think I'll start with Dawa Health. Why do some startups fail?
I think basically in Africa, when building a startup, you have to think globally. The moment you think only locally, you're doomed to fail. Because if we look at other countries, I won't mention names, but the government policies they have in place are not very supportive of these startups. So you have to think globally and how you can scale, and that's how you basically avoid failure.
Thank you. OORB?
Is this working? Oh, okay, good. So I think it's not exclusive to Africa, because almost on the whole world, I think 90% of startups fail. Because first, a startup is a high risk, high reward maneuver. You're trying to disrupt an already existing market. So obviously you will have a lot of competition. Second, everybody knows that startups require funding, and even if you get the right people and the right funding, sometimes the idea doesn't work out. And either from lack of distribution, lack of experience, or you get outcompeted by one of the big corporates.
Thank you very much. Do you mind?
Yeah, I think actually in Africa, maybe when you are trying to develop some idea resolving a problem, we are seeking to see how the solution should be scalable, how the solution should be scalable in terms of your business model, and also how we can bring new idea and new solution to resolve the solution. Because in many African countries, we are facing like the same issue. Basically, it's the same issue, but the main difference is just we have to take into account like some criteria depending on this country. But basically, the solution you will bring it will be the same. So that's I could say quickly.
Yeah, thank you, Sidi. Yes, Sidi. Yes, Sidi SR.
Cool. So I think in terms of AI startups and failing, I think any startup has potential to fail and succeed. And there are a myriad of factors from funding, timing, having the right talent, and also being able to address the problem in a way that makes sense to that market. And I think the key thing is documenting the failures, but startups failing is a common thing. But how can we avoid failure is if we document much of what we are doing, that means other people won't likely do what has already failed. But also working in collaborations is going to be easier in terms of accessing research and all that to understand what has worked, what hasn't, in a way that can propel people to experiment on what hasn't yet been experimented on. So I think those among areas whereby people can look at to avoid failures, but it's not a bad thing to fail. And the key thing is, after failing, is starting up again and looking on how best you can find a problem and be able to find a solution for it using artificial intelligence or machine learning.
Thank you very much. From that question, I was from some practical experience, haven't been part of some both startups and AI startups. I often hear people talking about most startups don't do proper market survey. Some don't have a good business plan and stuff like that. So those are part of the most common thing why some AI startups or startup generally fails. So what do you have to say about that? Which one is more important? Business plan, proper market survey, and so on? Or the two must go together, or which one do you think is more important out of these two in order to avoid the failure of some startup? Anyone can go first?
I think looking at it, the first key thing is understanding the problem. And after understanding the problem and verifying the problem is there, the next thing is how big is the problem? So we're coming to the market size. And after realizing how big is the problem, how much are people willing to pay for it, right? Okay. How painful is it that if you give me that product tomorrow, I will jump into it and start using it. So I will look it into that way, understanding the problem and understanding the market size, how big is the problem, and the willingness to pay for it.
Thank you. Dawa, else?
Okay, I would say you have to do the market survey. You have to obviously you have to get into the communities and engage with these communities, especially when building your solutions, your AI solutions. You may build fancy tech and all that, but if these communities don't have the fancy tech to meet you halfway, they just don't choose your tech. So you have to do a proper market survey. Yeah, pretty much.
Thank you. OORB.
This goes back to the same point that I mentioned earlier, which is like, I don't think one is more important than the other. I think both of them mix and their product market fit. If you don't have a base of users that are ready to use your platform, pay you for it, and give you constructive feedback, because one of the crucial parts as a startup is iterating fast and trying many things. And we always hear about startups that start, in a direction, then know that that direction is not working, so they pivot. An example is Slack. They started as like a chat for gamers, and now they're chat for everyone. So again, more emphasis on product market fit, find a niche, see if you solve their pain good enough so they can pay you, and hear what they have to say, like, because your app or your feature or your startup is worth how many people are willing to pay you for it.
Thank you. I think I'll open this to the floor before they will have their final. Yeah. Sorry, Joe mind, sorry.
I just would like to add something. I think the most important thing when we identify the problem, then also the market size, the most important thing is your business model, how you are going to sell your solution. Even you have a good solution, you have a good way to resolve a problem, if the business model is not accessible to maybe I can say if it's B2C or B2B or B2G, if it's not accessible, so you will see that you cannot sell and also you cannot grow. So that is really a big problem. So we have to take into account your business model, how it's really accessible to everyone, depending on the solution you have developed.
Thank you very much. So I will open this to the floor. Why do most AI startups in the developed world, especially Europe, survive more than those in African setting? So it's open for discussion. So let us know what we are getting wrong in Africa.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Nankier Sarah Joseph from the American University of Nigeria, Yola. So obviously, as we're all aware, AI requires a number of energy as well as water to run on a very good day. So that is a major challenge in Africa. Comparing the Western world to Africa, we know one of the major challenges we have is in the area of power supply. So basically, that is a challenge that hinder the success or sustainability of AI startups in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Yes, next.
Thank you so much for the panelists for that wonderful discussion. I think one of the biggest problems that we're facing in the African continent is we are having startups that are majorly based on unicorns, where we have a lot of work towards looking for finance, and then the finance might not be going fully into the implementation of the product that we're trying to work on. The shift should be towards what one of the greatest Indian startups called Rajesh Jani calls Proficons. Look for startups that are going to be able to be self-funded rather than looking for extra finances outside your scope. Because once you have a startup and it's too much dependent on finance coming from outside, it's going to have some extra outside external influence that makes you even forget the aim or the mission of your startup in the first place. And that is one thing that I feel we are losing in that. You can have finances, yes, but how can we now make sure that the startup funds itself without depending so much on the external ventures who will now start putting conditions on how this startup has to continue? Because when they do that, they want to return to get their money back. That is one. And you also want to make profit at the end of the day. So how can these startups as well just be self-funding and making profit for themselves? We need to have a paradigm shift from the unicorns to the proficons. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Hello. So my name is Robert Selemani, and I'm from Zimbabwe. So in terms of startups, why most startups fail, I like the idea of the lean startup by Eric Rice. He introduced the idea of lean startups where he talks about building minimum viable products in first, then test that hypothesis. So maybe coming back a bit, the goal of a startup is to identify a product that people are willing to pay for and use, so as quick as possible, then scale it up. So most startups, make a mistake of wasting time trying to build something, maybe a year or even more than a year, trying to build something that end up not being used because it's not addressing the problem that the society has, and nobody is willing to pay for that product because it doesn't address any problem amongst the problems that they have. So I think for startups to succeed, one of the factors they should consider is the lean startup approach, where they formulate their hypothesis, then build a product, take it to the market as soon as possible with minimal resources, get feedback from it, then come repeat the loop. Where they need to pivot, they should pivot and learn from it before investing much resources, because they waste time in terms of investing resources, but at the end, what they're building, nobody's willing to pay for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's somebody at the back there.
Okay, thank you. I am Yannick, and I hope I will have the capacity to put some word on everything I think about this question. So I think it's like most startup fails because they want to start big. Like they want to change the world today, or in 1 week they want to change the world. I will join my my brother Selemani. We should like put the like little resources in our product, and like try to sell it right now to see if people are interested in that, and yeah, after scale up. And I think it's like the idea of, I think someone presented it yesterday, it's the idea of gradient descendant. Like today we have a product with like a startup saw potential. And when you see potential, it's like you want to derivate it to have an energy with either a success or a fail. And when you have a fail, maybe you derivate it the bad way, or you didn't exploit the potential at the fullest or the best way you could do it. So I think sometimes it's a problem of selling, a problem of I don't know how to explain derivate, but derivation. Yeah, that's what I think about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and the last one is, what do we think AI startup trainers should emphasize more on? So that is also open for discussion. AI, there is a lot of AI startup trainers in different countries and in different communities. What do we think they should emphasize more on? Bamioni,
yeah,
your contribution.
Thank you. I'm going to answer that question together with the last question because I believe that it has the same answer. Trainers should focus more on telling startups about how to retain customers. Because if you don't have repeat customers, you don't have a business. It's not about having a startup. A startup is just like any other business. So when you don't have customers coming back to you, you stop having business. And you don't get repeat customers because it's Africa. You need to focus on the respective GDP the microeconomics will tell you that you need to build or provide a service or product that's cheap or that's affordable for these people. And us as Chaka Insure, we saw that with insurance, most informal workers do not have or do not have a registration for any insurance policy because it's not affordable for them. And you see that the insurance policies or the insurance institutions that are there do not get also repeat customers because of that reason. So the focus should be on teaching about how to retain customers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Can you give an experienced AI startup? So let's hear his view.
Thank you. I believe that the trainers or the ecosystem builders need to make, firstly, the market more accessible. Secondly, I think they need to just add a lot of value to the startups ecosystem. So the first one, in terms of accessibility, I think there's a lot of barriers to entry in different markets. It might be gatekeepers, or it might be just the incumbents. And sometimes these startup builders, startup or ecosystem builders, when they can allow for access into these markets, it makes startup thrive. Then the second one, in terms of value creation, is to provide them with different opportunities, funding opportunities, grants opportunities, access to credits, anything essentially that ensures that the startup can have sufficient runway so that they can innovate like they need to and get to the outcomes that they need. I think those two things, if those two things are right, I believe the others, probably the startups can get right on their own. For example, skills and so on. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Yes, let's have that. That's the last one. Yes.
Thank you. Good day, everyone. So my name is Mia Havaro, and I'm from South Africa. So the issue is most startups start as passions without one thinking of return on investment. So now I think there should be a way where startups are taught to how can I change a passion that I have into now a profitable business. So I have this passion of helping people, maybe as a social worker or something, but then now how do I turn that into a profitable business? Thanks.
Thank you very much. I think we just ask the AI startup here present for their closing remarks. Thank you. We can start from the only lady among us. Indaba Health.
Okay, thank you. So tomorrow we'll be having a poster presentation. We invite you all to come through. We'll be showcasing the AI tools we're using. And these AI tools are an AI-powered ultrasound scan. We're also using an AI-powered non-invasive hemoglobin or anemia checker. And we also have a multilingual chatbot. Thank you.
Thank you. CDSR.
Thank you. I think one key thing as any person who is inspiring to build an AI startup is actually focusing on the problem and then think through if it requires AI or not.
Thank you. Do you mind?
Thank you. So we are focused on AI using geospatial and AI combined to promote sustainable solutions. So feel free to contact us if you would like also you have some problem or to see how we can collaborate. And also I think the main thing is we should maybe work together, because actually when we are talking about Africa issue regarding infrastructure or energy, Africa is the most country that which have the most natural resources. So we can put these resources to build our maybe central power that can be using to serve all African countries. So it's possible maybe by working together, and yeah.
Thank you. OORB.
Yeah, so One remark I want to finish with is I think it's important as a startup, either as an AI startup or a startup that uses AI in its product, is to not follow the hype and actually think about how meaningful your product is. And even if it doesn't use AI or any fancy things that much, if it still can provide value, it's a good business. And it's all about that. Even if it's not an AI startup, always think how you can provide value for your users. That's all.
Thank you very much. I think for me, I believe that African AI startups should try and also have mentors who can guide them the right direction. They should not be in a hurry to deploy their solution. Sometimes they need more time to deploy this solution, and they should not, at the start of their startup, be too much after big profits. They should start slowly, and surely they will get there. And I would like to say big thanks to all those present in this session. Thank you very much. And I believe by next year, it will get better, and we'll have a better, good testimony to share from all the startups. They will come here to give us some grant testimony, and that is my wish, and believe I wish you all the best. Thanks for this session, and have a good evening.